Here we go.
Suicide Squad is written and directed by David Ayer, who has worked on some films that I'm a big fan of, like End of Watch, Fury, and Training Day. But he has decided to take a crack at the superhero genre with the newest installment to the DCEU, Suicide Squad. This movie is about a secret government agency that recruits imprisoned supervillains to execute a dangerous Black Ops mission in exchange for a shortened sentence. Now, some of you may know Suicide Squad was my most anticipated film of this entire year, and that's saying a lot considering what other films have come out this year, like Batman v Superman, Deadpool, Civil War, Star Wars. And not only because Batman's in this movie, but this is the very first time ever we are getting a live-action Harley Quinn, who is my favorite female character in the entire DC universe. And not only are we getting Harley Quinn, but we are getting a new look at Joker, who's not only my favorite villain in comics, but in everything, in anything, in any media, he's my favorite villain. And this movie looked like it was going to rejuvenate and kickstart the DCEU up to the energy that I'd like it to be at. Because for me, I didn't really like Batman v Superman, which by the way, if you haven't seen my review, the link is in the description. I wanted this movie to kickstart this series. I wanted it to grab me back and let me have some confidence in this franchise. Because I like DC Comics so much more than Marvel Comics. Batman is my favorite character. I love the Justice League. These are things that I grew up watching. These are things that I grew up loving, and these are the reasons that I read comic books today. I even said it in a tweet, and I completely, full-heartedly mean this. I would trade any Marvel movie. I don't care if it's Avengers, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, any of them. I would trade any of those movies for a great Justice League movie. I don't care. That's how much I want a good Justice League movie, because I care about these characters. And I have a lot to say about this movie, and I mean, I have a lot to say about this movie, so you might be here a while. So to help me not ramble and not to lose my mind and freak out, I'm going to follow a step-by-step thing. I'm going to start off with the characters of this movie and what I liked or disliked about them, and then I'm going to go a little bit bigger picture. Number 1, Deadshot. So Deadshot is portrayed by Will Smith in this movie, and going into this film, that was the aspect of this movie that I was worried about. I thought his lines in the trailer were awful.
Well, that's it, huh? We're the Patsies. We're some kind of Suicide Squad.
Granted, that line in particular is probably just bad writing, but you get my point. But leaving this movie, I've got to say that Deadshot was my favorite thing about this movie. Part of that is due because he's actually really well developed. There's this whole subplot about him with his daughter that really added this character and actually made you root for the guy. And there's also the sweet intro where he's doing what his job is, and he's being an assassin, and he's doing Deadshot things, and it is just such a cool introduction to this character. And with Will Smith, you usually get one of two kinds of acting. With Will, you usually get like the goofy, charismatic, fun Will Smith, but on the other side, you get serious, I want an Oscar, but I probably won't get one Will Smith. But in Suicide Squad, he balances both those sides of his acting really well. And I love how in this movie, pretty much the entire film is centered around him. He's honestly the main character in this movie and is given the most to do and has the most backstory added to him. My one gripe about this character is Deadshot, if you don't know in the comics, he is this crazy marksman. He never misses, and he can do these crazy things. He can shoot off of a wall and kill you with the ricochet. That's how good he is. And he does do that in the movie once. The other times that he's killing people, he just shoots them in the head, and it's just a one-shot kill shot. And I wish when he was fighting these villains, I wish he could have done some crazy, like in Deadpool, when Deadpool shoots like 3 guys in the head with 1 bullet. Like, I wish he could have done some cooler stuff with his guns, because I know he's capable of it. But overall, he was my favorite character in this movie, and I think that he was a standout in this film. Number 2, El Diablo. So El Diablo wasn't really a character that I was like, oh my gosh, yes! We are finally getting El Diablo on the big screen! So I didn't really care, but I really think that he was actually a nice addition to this team. He as well is given a nice backstory and setup that makes you actually feel and care for this character. Because at first he's kind of reserved about using his powers, and he's like, I don't really feel comfortable using these. I've hurt some people in my life, and it kind of shows why he feels this way, and it really added a lot to this film. So I wasn't really expecting anything from him, but he was actually one of the bright spots of the movie, I think. Number 3, Killer Croc. So Killer Croc is actually a character I enjoy, and when they announced that he was going to be in this movie, I was like, sweet, it's about time. A Killer Croc in a movie would be awesome. And I love the direction they took with Croc's look in this film. I am so pleased that they didn't go the CGI route and stuck to an actor and prosthetics with makeup. With that being said, I didn't like the route they went with the character himself at all. For example, there's this part where Croc is like, hey, I lived in the sewer, I'll go down there, which is a really cool thing, and it's like, oh, that's something that Croc would do. But then it turns around and he starts saying things like shoddy, and hey, can I have a TV with BET playing on it? I kid you not, he actually says that in this movie. Also something that just bothered me personally, and I really haven't heard anybody else say anything about it, but the mobility in his mouth is very limited because of this prosthetic. So when he did talk, not only was he saying really idiotic things, but his mouth could barely move. So the way his mouth is moving, the words don't match his mouth, so they had to do this really terrible ADR that just didn't sync up well at all. So not only did you get bad ADR, but you got crappy dialogue, so that's terrific. Overall, I like the way he looked in this movie, but when he talked, I was just like, nope. Shut up! Shut up! You shut your mouth! Shut up! Number 4, Amanda Waller. So for those of you who don't know, Amanda Waller is a pretty big name character in the DC universe. She is sneaky and corrupt, yet reliable, yet unpredictable. She's smart, she's intimidating, and she is portrayed so freaking well by Viola Davis. She captures so freaking perfectly what Amanda Waller is about. She's not in this movie a lot, but I cannot wait to see how she affects the rest of the DC universe. And I got to thinking, I think personally it could have been really awesome if in Batman v Superman it wasn't a senator that was bringing Superman to trial. I think it would be really cool if it was Amanda Waller, like asking this guy, this alien who killed thousands of freaking people, like, hey man, what's the big idea? I don't even know if that would have worked in that story, but I think it would have been a really cool nod to the fans. And then not only that, but we could have her in this movie and we could be able to play with her in this film. Number 5, Rick Flag. So for me, I don't really know anything about Rick Flag. I just know he's a DC character and he's in this movie. And he's okay, I guess. He's really just what we needed him to be, which isn't much, and just sit there and talk trash to the Suicide Squad and just kind of boss them around. And really, everything he did didn't really affect my overall opinion of this movie, and I just didn't care about him. Not I didn't care about him in a negative way. It's just, when I left the movie, I wasn't like, but Rick Flag, though, right? Number 6, Captain Boomerang. So Jai Courtney is a notoriously bad actor in Hollywood. The dude has the opposite of charisma. He has about as much charisma as a glass of milk. And he pretty much just straight up sucks in everything he does. Except for Suicide Squad. I actually really liked his character in this film. He was funny. Jai Courtney actually shows that he could act. I mean, it was insane. However, like X-Men Apocalypse, I was thinking to myself, why are you on this team? You have a guy that can create fire out of nothing, a human crocodile, an assassin that can never miss, and you have this guy who throws slightly sharper boomerangs. I just feel like out of all the bad guys out there, Captain Boomerang probably wouldn't be my first choice. Number 7, Katana. I freaking hated Katana so much in this movie. Oh my god, she's so bad! So it starts off with the laziest introduction to a character I've probably ever seen. So the Suicide Squad is about to start their mission. They're leaving on this helicopter, and Katana jumps on, and Rick Flag's like, oh hey, that's Katana, by the way. You don't want to get killed by her, because if you do, your soul will be trapped in her sword, so just heads up. It's so freaking lazy! And then she has another moment in this movie where she's crying in this corner, and they just flood the scene with crappy, clunky, stupid exposition. So some of you may notice that I have left out 2 characters from this movie. And I saved them for last because I have a lot to say about them. Number 8, the Joker and Harley Quinn. So if you've been following my YouTube channel or you follow me on Twitter, you would know that I was so freaking excited to see Harley Quinn and a new Joker in this movie. That's what made me excited about this film. I don't care about anything else. I was like, oh my god, a new Joker! Harley Quinn! Ah! And as far as Harley Quinn goes, I think she was perfect casting. Margot Robbie kills it as Harley Quinn. She gets her mannerisms down. She talks the same way that Harley does. It is perfect. There's even a nice nod to some of the stuff in the Batman animated series, so keep your eye open for that. And if you're a big Batman fan, that's going to be really cool for you. But if you are a fan of that show, and this is something that legitimately pisses me off, because this is one of the most famous episodes in that whole freaking show. So the episode Mad Love is what I'm talking about. And in that episode, it's the origins of Harley Quinn. And it shows who she was. She was Dr. Harley Quinzel, got assigned to the Joker, fell in love with the guy, and then the rest is history. And that episode from the Batman animated series is really famous. And I shit you not, this movie burns through that episode in like 30 seconds during a flashback. Waller just lays down a file. This government official guy's like, hey, who's this? And she's like, oh, this is Harley Quinn. Cue the flashback. And then it just cuts to Jokey and Harley talking. There's no build-up, no freaking suspense at all. It's just like, here's the Joker, hope you're ready for it. And this is our first introduction to the Joker. Like, what the hell? This is one of the most famous villains, not just in comics, but in pop culture. The Joker is huge. It's the freaking Joker. And you're introducing him in this universe for the first time in a flashback where you see him for like 12 seconds? What the hell? So that's pretty much how I stand on that scene. As far as Jared Leto's Joker goes, it's weird because I don't know how to describe it. And the best way to sum it up is, when Batman vs. Superman came out, I was like, Ben Affleck in this movie was fantastic, but I'm not really ready to crown him. He's an amazing Batman. He can do no wrong. So I'm treating the Joker the same way, but like the opposite. I hated him in this movie. I thought he was garbage, but I'm more like, hey, the movie's not that great either, so maybe he just got a bad script. Maybe if he was in a good Batman movie, I would like him more, but as of now, I thought he sucked. But I think a lot of that is due because the editing with the Joker scenes is bad. He's not needed in the movie at all, and because there's no setup to him. His introduction was so just like, it was shocking. I was like, oh, okay, there's the Joker now. Get ready for this. And when I say what I'm about to say, I want you to listen to what I'm saying. Specifically listen to what I'm saying. I am not comparing Jared Leto to Heath Ledger. I think that's unfair. I'm not comparing these two separate things. I'm not doing it. I'm using Heath Ledger as an example. So with Heath Ledger, or Jack Nicholson, I could go to the Jack Nicholson route if you wanted me to. So with Heath Ledger, the scene where he comes in, the scene where you really get to see him for like the first time, not the bank scene, but he comes in and he's like, I thought my jokes were bad. And the guy's like, give me one reason why I shouldn't have my boy pull your head off. And he's like, how about a magic trick? And he slams the guy's head on the table. That is classic Joker. Because in that scene, it's scary for one, but it's also funny. You're laughing at this horrific thing that you just saw, and that's what the Joker is. Or with Jack Nicholson, where he comes in and he shoots his boss and he starts dancing around and shoots him like 9 times. That's Joker. That's what the craziness of this character is. And then in this movie, Jared Leto doesn't have one defining moment that made me go, that's the Joker right there. That's something the Joker would do. He just does stuff that any mob boss or any gangster would do. He's not scary. He shoots like a guy, and that's like it. Awesome. Lots of effort put into that. Thank you. And the thing that's annoying in this movie is you're focusing on Deadshot. I don't care what you say. This movie is Deadshot's movie. It's focused on him. He's given the most to do. It's the biggest backstory. It's Deadshot's film. I understand that you want to explain and flesh out Harley Quinn, but you can't do that when this is Deadshot's movie. That's why this universe is so frustrating, because they're making it backwards. They're reactionary. They needed to have a plan.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
And set these movies out and make movies of the characters. You need to have these big characters. They need to have their own movie, like a Batman movie, like a Wonder Woman movie, which, please, freaking don't screw that up. But why would you have a Superman movie and then just be like, no, that's good. They got it. They're up to speed. And then have Batman in the next movie. And then Wonder Woman again. And then Flash. And all these people, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to stop talking about Batman v Superman. What I'm saying about this movie is, have a Batman movie. And the rumor is that the next Batman film will be Arkham Asylum, and that's what the story is going to be centered around, and that's great. That's awesome. But here's my idea. Instead of spending time focusing on Harley and the Joker and pissing through Mad Love, which is such a great story, have that story, Mad Love, be in the Batman movie. Have Batman take Joker to prison. Then we meet Dr. Harley Quinzel. She talks to the Joker, falls in love with him, And then we have the relationship. She breaks him out of prison, and then we have Arkham Asylum. It's right there. It's so easy. But no, they just freaking burn through a perfectly good story just like they did in Batman v Superman with Superman, The Deaths of Superman. That's a great story, and you just piss through it in like 20 minutes. It's frustrating as hell. That way, in this movie, you already know who Joker is. You already know who Harley is. So you don't need to have Joker in this movie. You have Harley, but you know who she is already, so you don't need a backstory. And then make it Deadshot's movie. No one is like, hey, where's my Killer Croc backstory? No one cares. Focus on Deadshot because that's what they seem like they want to be doing. Focus on him, and then we get to already know who Harley is. And that way she's not feeling like the second banana, because we're like, hey, if you want to watch a movie about Harley and the Joker, go watch Arkham Asylum. This Suicide Squad movie, it's about Deadshot. And if that wasn't bad enough, the climax of this movie is so freaking bad. It was really reminiscent of Fantastic. You know what I mean? That freaking garbage pile that was that new Fantastic Four movie. Yeah, this climax is just as bad. And most of that is because there's this freaking dumb villain with a dumb plot and this laser that's shooting up in the sky. It's lazy and it's done millions of times and it's trite. It's boring. And there's so much just bad CGI and bad acting and bad line delivery from everybody. It's atrocious at times. And I was watching it and I was just like, what the hell is happening? And something else that bothered me is David Ayer, when he was talking about this movie and he's promoting it, he was talking about Batman in this film. And the way he explained Batman in this movie, which I was like, yes, is he was saying that Batman to the villains is really freaking scary. Because think about it. If you're a villain and you're robbing a bank or whatever, and you're, doing your thing, you're taking your money, and then this giant 6'4", huge 200 plus pound man bat comes in and starts beating you to death, that's really freaking scary. But in this movie, it doesn't utilize that concept at all. Batman doesn't interfere with the Suicide Squad at all. Why would you not have this movie in Gotham? And why would you not have Batman go to Amanda Waller and be like, listen, I know Harley Quinn, I know Killer Croc, I know Deadshot. They are psychopathic killers. They will turn on you in an instant. You put them on the street, I'm taking them out. Why would you not have that? That is so easy. And then you have Batman be the villain in this movie, which could have been super amazing, but no, he's only in freaking flashbacks, I kid you not. Not to mention there's this other ham-handed cameo from another character, and that honestly makes no sense. Because if you keep up on the DC information like I do when you watch trailers and things, then you're like, okay, it's not that big of a surprise, but if you don't, I cannot even imagine how confused you might have been in that scene. Because I know there's people that don't watch these trailers, and if I hadn't seen some of the trailers that they've released for the DC movies, I would have been like, did no one just see that? Did no one just see who that was? Because it's literally like the character was just like, hey, how are you? And then he leaves, and he doesn't do anything else. Why would you not just have that, let that character have a movie, and then have one of the villains in this movie be in that character's film? It would have been so easy. Just have this villain be like this small little crime that they stop. They put this villain in jail, and then now we get to have this villain for Suicide Squad. I don't know how they didn't think of this. Why? And to make matters worse with this film, is this movie had fantastic trailers. Every single trailer they released was perfect. There wasn't that one trailer like with Batman v Superman where I was like, this movie could really suck. Every single trailer was amazing. And because every single trailer was amazing, the studio went, guys, they want this tone, which is what the trailers delivered. This movie doesn't have this tone. So we need to go through, fix some of this stuff, reshoot some stuff, and we need to change the tone of this movie. Which, first of all, why the hell are you editing a trailer that tells a completely different tone? You're not going to have a trailer for Shawshank Redemption and have like Kanye West and dubstep in it. It just doesn't make any sense. Because to me this says that this studio is not confident in their products and they're scared and they don't know what to do. So they just go on Twitter and they're like, this is what fans like, and then they change their movie. They're reactionary. They don't have a plan. They don't have a playbook. They don't have someone seen over Warner Brothers and be like, no, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And it scares the freaking crap out of me. Because like I've said, I want a good Justice League movie, and as of right now, I think Justice League is going to suck. I know I was really excited for that trailer, but after watching Suicide Squad, this is the second time in a row that they've proved they can't handle an ensemble. They can't do it. So with Justice League, you have The Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman in a movie that don't have their own films. They're doing it after the fact, which makes no freaking sense at all, because we're introducing these characters, we're supposed to care about these characters, and the only way that they can introduce them is in a flashback, and that's ridiculous. And speaking of which, you know what else is ridiculous? The fact that critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie a low score. It's got like a 27 or something like that. And fans are flipping out. They're flipping out at Rotten Tomatoes, and they're like, Rotten Tomatoes is getting paid by Marvel. We're shutting them down. We're going to start a petition to shut down Rotten Tomatoes. You know how dumb you sound right now? Rotten Tomatoes is a website where critics go on there, they write a review, and post it to Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes does not write reviews. So being mad at them is like being mad at the weather station because they tell the weather. You're like, I don't want it to rain. Why are you telling me it's raining? I hate you. It's dumb. Not to mention, you know what's dumber than that? The fact that Warner Brothers, who makes these movies, owns 30% of Rotten Tomatoes. Did you guys know that? The company that you're saying is getting paid by Marvel? Wrong. They're getting paid by Warner Brothers, who makes these movies. And when you're complaining about, why is this movie getting such a low score? It's so good. You're not helping your film at all. You're giving it bad publicity. Everything surrounding this movie is either frustrating, annoying, or depressing. Like the Rotten Tomatoes thing, that's just annoying and stupid. The frustrating thing is that we haven't gotten these solo superhero films with these villains in it. It doesn't make any sense. And what's depressing is this is the universe that we get for a few more years. This is the studio that doesn't know how to let their work, that doesn't know how to let the directors direct, and doesn't know how to handle a film. They're trying to make these films as they're moving along. They're not taking a breath and like sitting down and being, okay, what do we need to do now? They're like, oh god, the Batman versus Superman's not funny enough. Just go make Suicide Squad funnier. Do it. We don't care if the movie's good. Just do it. David Ayer, pump out a script in 6 weeks. We don't care what the result is. Just make a movie. You can feel their fingerprints throughout this entire film, and it's really annoying. And I know I've been yelling and I've been very enthusiastic, but what it comes down to is it's really sad that this movie isn't as good as I wanted it to be. I wanted this movie to be fantastic. I wanted this movie to revitalize this series that, regardless if you like it or not, regardless if you think Batman v Superman was the greatest movie of all time, Warner Brothers isn't happy with these films. That's why they're going back and changing these movies as they're going along. It doesn't matter what you think of the film, that's what this fact is. Warner Brothers knows that we thought Batman v Superman was too dour, and they saw the critic reviews, and they're changing it. They saw how much money that it lost, and it did make $1 billion. And I'm bummed that this movie wasn't that good. I came home, and I just sat and thought about this movie, and I was legitimately bummed that this movie wasn't good. I was really depressed that this movie wasn't good. I was very, very, very excited for this movie. I got the shirt, got the merch, got the stuff. I was excited for this movie. I was ready to go. I was pumped up. I was like, there's no way this movie could be bad. And it was. Honestly, this feels good to get it all out. It's therapeutic to just release all this anger that I have and the sadness in my body right now, because that's what I've been doing for like the past 24 hours, is just sulking on this movie and just thinking about it and just being like. So thank you guys for watching today. Thank you for sitting through this whole video and watching it. I really, really appreciate it, guys. Like, truly, thank you for watching this. So I hope you liked today's video, guys. If you did, click the link down below, subscribe to my channel, see more movie reviews and movie-related things. And guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.